This is what astrology, this is where it begins. See, the reason I'm explaining it like this is because you're connected to these things, and these are living forces in you. The sun is just like the sun in the sky. It's not different. The sun in you, the solar energy in you, is that power of consistency, or that consistent power that illuminates and that sees the goal and stays steady and powerful toward the goal. It's just like the sun in the sky. The moon is just like the moon in the sky. It's in you. It's the part of you that is receptive, that is flexible, that's moving, that's sensitive, that's receptive, and just like the moon in the sky. These are overall terms. I'm going to go through these things much more specific. These are large concepts right now. Mercury's fast-moving. He's the intellect. He's organizing things. He's adjusting. He's communicating. Just like Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, and the Mercury goes around the sun really fast and disperses that energy everywhere. It goes backward half the time. But just like Mercury in the sky. Venus, the same thing, beautiful. You see Venus in the sky. It's that beauty. It's that love. These are all divine energies, and they were given. This is why they're deities in Vedic astrology. They are deities. Whatever a deity is, it's a divine force. And these are the divine forces in you, these divine energies. What happens is we come here because we're trying to know who we truly are. We're trying to become enlightened. We're trying to connect to our infinite nature rather than be tangled up in our small nature. We're trying to connect with that universal being from which we come, this universe that created us. But instead we feel separate. We feel the sense of separateness. And this separateness is why we suffer. And you can understand this separateness through each of the planets. The separateness of the sun is a lack of confidence that doesn't allow us to act upon our inspirations. The suffering of the moon is the inability to handle our day-to-day changes and our feelings and receive what comes our way without fear. The divine nature of Mars is the courage to face things and not get knocked off course. And see, what happens is when we're not able to express each of these energies in their fullness, this is our suffering. So when we suffer with Mars, like we were talking about Mars earlier, the suffering of Mars, or when Mars is powerful, we're very disciplined. And we're able to put into practice those things that we know are right. When we're undisciplined, we become angry and we blame others. Mars gives strength, and that's the strength to do what we know is right, not just think about it, or talk about it, or argue about it. So when Mars is powerful, we actually do it. When he's weak, we argue about it or turn it into a kind of moral question. So each one of the planets are these divine forces within us, not just within us, within everything, in all of creation. No grouchy zone. You got that on the... What happens when you face your insecurities and fears?
Well, you grow. Isn't that confident? Yeah.
It's not negative. This is how we experience it. It's the part of life. I made this is like a composite. I mean, these are very deep principles. It's a moksha house. Again, we all moksha. The word we use for it is liberation, and we're like, oh, liberation. But that usually means things get taken from us. We become liberated from all of our delusions. There's a saying, we all want to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. Mm-hmm. So this is where we really feel it, where a lot of our delusions get shattered. It's not because it's anything wrong or that it's anything bad, but, we're all going to, the physical body's going to die, everything is going to change, and this is where we become aware of that. So this is just, it's not like it's a bad thing. It's the nature of life. But usually we become aware of it, and we're afraid of those things, If you knew that everyone you loved was going to die right now, you'd be pretty upset. But it's the truth. It not might happen, it will. All of us. It's going to happen. Yeah. This is the nature of life, right? And we don't usually like to focus on that, but that's the way life is. So when we're focused on our limited nature, through the ego, through the limited world of forms that are all going to perish. It's scary, but facing those fears and insecurities makes us grow, makes us mature, and leads to what? What does it lead to? Yeah. The 8th house is necessary for the 9th house. You know people that grow up and they're just totally like insulated from things. They didn't have a lot of hardship, or they haven't faced a lot of it. Their philosophies and their sense of meaning and purpose is often very vapid, And the things, their higher purpose, 9th house, is things like make a lot of money or do these kinds of things, because if they haven't dealt with that kind of harsh reality of life, which is what the 8th house is, those harsh realities that we have to face, our mortality, those things that are ending, and all those things that we're scared of. We're terrified of certain things, and that's what the 8th house is. But the part of it that's terrified is that ego. It's okay, is that limited nature, that limited animal mind that's not the eternal being. Yeah. So this is what the 8th house is. And if we want to be more than that, up until this point, it's very much about what? Ourself and others, right? Yeah. Thinking, well, I don't want to be alone, self, so I'll find other people. That'll make me happy. I'm not happy by myself, so I'll be happy with others. And then it's like, well, that ain't it either. Because it's not only that, it's not just the death part, it's the death of our ignorance and all this stuff. When we do get intimately involved with people, which comes through the 7th house, and we have that, especially you could look at the romantic relationships, the most intense part of the 7th, the most intense part of 7th house. It makes us aware that we thought this was going to be the big thing, that, this will save me. I have somebody else. I have people. I'm in a partnership. And then we're like, God, this is worse than when I was alone. I mean, this is harder than being alone, right? And it's like we become more aware that we have no control. What's the biggest thing? The 8th house. What we try to do is we try to have some control of our environment that gives us the illusion of comfort. But the 8th house is where we realize we have no control really over anything. Not the least of which ourselves. Because relationships show us that too. Like, well, especially ourself in relationship to our partners. We're like, I know this person's bad for me. It's wrong. The relationship's bad, but God, I want more of it. It's like, what am I, insane? What am I doing? It's like we're just totally out of control on some level because we're getting jacked by all these things. So this is the big switch from the animal to the God part of us. This is the individual, and this is us relating with other people, trying to grow because we have to. We don't want to just be by ourselves. We're here to learn how to share and how to be extended beyond ourselves and our own drives. That's what this section is about. That's why I said yesterday, this is like a lot of the hardest stuff we have, is because we're getting pulled beyond just what I want, how I feel, and all that.